What's going on everyone, you're back with Jono for another quick math lesson. Today we're going to use Pythagoras' theorem to find the shorter side in a triangle. We've already found the hypotenuse in a previous episode, so please go have a look at that if you're unsure how to use it. There's only one real skill that we're addressing to be able to do this. If you can rearrange an equation, you 100% can do this every single time. So Pythagoras' theorem is that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. A and b are the short sides, so we want to get one of those letters by itself. It actually doesn't matter which one. Either one will work. I usually get rid of the a squared, but it doesn't really matter. Either one works. So when I rearrange this equation, I want to get a squared or b squared onto the other side with c squared. So all I have to do is minus b squared and minus b squared from both sides, and then I'm left with a squared is equal to c squared minus b squared. And then just to make sure I'm left with a, not a squared, I have to square root both sides, so it'll eventually look like this. A is equal to the square root of c squared minus b squared. That's actually got a lot going on. It's much easier when we start using numbers. So this is our new formula for finding the short side. The reason I've said new is because it comes from the first formula. We've just moved some stuff around to make sure that the short side is by itself. So this is our first example here. We've been given the hypotenuse. It's 18 and one of the sides is 6. The first thing that I want you to do every single time is make sure you have a guess first. Sometimes my students will go 6 squared plus 18 squared and then give me the answer. But we know for a fact that 18 has to be the largest size in this triangle because it is the hypotenuse, the longest side. So if your answer is greater than 18, you know that you're not going to be right. This is just a great way to check that you've done it correctly because it kind of just makes sure that everything's in the right place. And then you can move on to the next question. So we're going to work this one out, fully rearranging everything, and then I'm going to show you a shortcut for the next example. So just using Pythagoras' theorem, I know that the short two sides squared, or 6 squared plus x squared, is equal to the long side squared, or 18 squared. I'm trying to get that x by itself, so I've got a minus 6 squared to the other side, so I've got x squared is equal to 18 squared minus 6 squared. If I throw that into my calculator, I'm going to have that x squared is equal to 288. I need x by itself. I don't care what x squared is, so I have to square root both sides. So x is equal to the square root of 288. And if I throw that into my calculator, I've been given the answer of 16.97, which fits in to my guess at the start. I knew it had to be less than 18, so this perfectly fits. So if you're not 100% sure on how to rearrange equations like this, I've linked in the description below another video that goes over rearranging equations. Definitely have a look at that because it will help you out throughout this whole topic. Some of my students hate doing all this work, which I totally understand. There is a really easy calculator shortcut that I'm going to explain. All you've got to make sure is that when you use the calculator shortcut like this, you know what to write down so you get all your marks for working. So the really big fundamental idea of Pythagoras' theorem to find the short side is that we have the hypotenuse squared, or the big side squared, minus the little side squared. So big squared minus little squared. Once you put that into your calculator, if you hit equals and then square root answer, it will give you the side length of the other short side. So we're just going to have a look at that in this example. If I've got the hypotenuse as 25 and one of the sides is 20, I want to have a guess first. Any guess between probably 10 and 20 is a perfect guess here. If my answer fits into that, I know I'm on the right track. So for my trick here, I do the big number, 25 squared, minus the little number, 20 squared, hit equals, and then I'm going to square root my answer, and that is equal to 15. So just using that calculator trick, unfortunately, isn't enough work to get full marks. What you do just have to write down is the steps that you took on your calculator. So what we were saying was that 25 squared minus 20 squared is equal to the x squared. So then if you just write in your answer for the first thing that you got, which was x squared is equal to 225, and then you just have to draw a little square root sign underneath because that is what you did for that equation. We know that x is equal to 15. So really, you're only doing 2 lines of maths for this equation. As long as you've got that idea of big side squared minus little side squared, you're definitely going to be more than halfway to getting these right. Please don't just rely on your calculator. You do have to show you're working out, otherwise you'll lose a mark, which is really annoying because you've shown you know what to do.